So welcome back guys to We Talk Boxing, and today I'm going to be talking about the fight which is taking place on the undercard of the Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois main event, and this is going to be between Anthony Cacace versus Josh Warrington. Now this fight is going to be for the IBO and IBF super featherweight titles, where currently um, Anthony Cacace, is the champion. So Anthony Cacace pretty much came alight in terms of his last fight, where he absolutely destroyed Joe Cordina, who is an absolute prospect and brilliant boxer in his own right. He stopped him in 8 rounds, and this is, for me, at the time I was quite flabbergasted and shocked in terms of what happened, because Joe Cordina was meant to be going on to bigger things and potentially into bigger fights, which somehow, I don't know how, after that loss he has somehow managed to get a big fight, and that's against Shakur Stevenson, because he's going to be fighting him in October. So I don't know how that happens after getting knocked out, but yeah, this fight against Cacace versus Josh Warrington, um, hopefully a good fight. I could potentially see a knockout for Anthony Cacace in this fight from what I saw in his last fight. His record doesn't suggest that though. He's had 23 fights in total with 22 wins, but only 8 KOs to his name. So his record doesn't scream out that he is a big puncher. But what I saw in that Joe Cordina fight is that he hits with venom. He hits with some sort of ferocious power. And I know that Josh Warrington is a warrior in himself, but what he did to Cordina, I just can't see Warrington taking that, especially after his recent performances. Josh Warrington, I'll get onto that in a moment, but Kakachi's only lost one fight in 2023. He's 35 years of age. He's Irish. He's 5'10", so he's quite tall for the weight. But he started his career way back in 2012. I'm guessing after or before the Olympics, give or take. But he he hasn't really been in there with some big noticeable names. Um, but in terms of one of the names I can see on his record, he's fought against Ronnie Clark. I know who Ronnie Clark is. I've seen him fight a few times, and I'm quite adamant. I actually saw that fight between Clark and Cacace back in 2015, where Cacace knocked him out in 10 rounds, and I actually thought from that time that Cacace was going to go on and do some good things in the sport, but it just hasn't been. He then lost to a Martin J. Ward in 2017, but at the time, Martin J. Ward was unbeaten. So he had, I think it was a draw or two on his record at that point, Martin J. Ward, but he was unbeaten when Cacace fought him, and Cacace lost on a 12-round unanimous decision. Scorecards were very, very close, so I'm guessing the fight could have either been scored either way. But then it was a rebuilding phase for Anthony Cacace for a few fights before taking on a Leon Woodstock, and I know who Leon Woodstock is as well. Very good British level fighter in his own right, and Cacace came through that on a 12-round unanimous decision, but the scorecards are very, very wide for Cacace, 117-111, and two judges scored it 117-110. So yeah, a very good comprehensive win. And then he had a few more fights, and then he recently took on, obviously, Joe Cordini, where he knocked him out in 8 rounds and dropped him 3 times. So yeah, was it twice, two or 3 times? I'm sure, something like that. Was it twice? Something like that in the fight. So yeah, brilliant performance from Anthony Cacace. Whereas Josh Warrington, in terms of age, he is younger. He is younger than Anthony Cacace by 2 years, so he's 33 years of age. But he's been around and he's had a tough career. He's currently had, like, was it 36 fights, and he's won 31, 8 KOs to his name. So his record as well doesn't scream that he's a big puncher. Um, But for a featherweight, he can punch. So you got a picture, even though these guys are smaller, when they are punching, you know what I mean, it is having some effect on of their opponent, because their opponents aren't obviously as big. So it is going to hit them and hurt them the same way as a heavyweight hitting each other. But he's had 3 losses on his record and 1 draw. Now these losses and that 1 draw have come in his last 5 fights. Now, in his last 5 fights, he's only won 1 fight. Um, Everything pretty much came down for, or changed, I should say, for Josh Warrington in 2021, where he took on Mauricio Lara, which at the time I'm not sure if he knew much about Lara, but with what I saw that night, it was a bad mistake, and it reminded me similarly when Amir Khan, in his early part of his career, took on that guy, that big, is it Brady's Prescott or something like that, and he obviously knocked Amir Khan out flat, like game over sort of thing. So it was a little bit of a banana slip, but Josh Warrington had no choice but to go back in there straight away with Lara. The fight got stopped. I think it was a clash of heads in the second round, but up until that clash of heads, Warrington was struggling. For me, that's my opinion. So he's quite lucky that the fight got stopped because of the clash of heads. He then obviously came back against Kiko Martinez, where he knocked him out. So Warrington knocked him out in 7 rounds. So that was a good victory at that time, because Kiko Martinez has gone on to do some decent things since that loss, really. He obviously beat Jordan Gill, lost against some Ryan Abe, whatever. But he's a good, credible name to have on your record. Um, After that Kiko Martinez fight, he then lost to another Mexican. So Mexican seems to be not good for Warrington. So he lost. He lost on a 12-round majority decision to a Luis Alberto Lopez. So the scorecards were quite close. But yeah, for me, again, there was a bit of headbutting from Josh Warrington. Whether or not you can say it was accidental or not, but there was he tends to use his head quite a lot in all of his fights. But yeah, he lost that fight, and then he fought Leon Woods most recently, where he lost. He got knocked out in 7 rounds, and again he was using his head quite a lot in this fight. He got deducted points for using illegal punches and that as well. So yeah, he's I don't want to say dirty fighter, but he makes it awkward and tough for his opponent, Josh Warrington. But yeah, having only won 1 in the last 5, and obviously been through the wars. He's been a lot more active than what Cacace has been in terms of fights per year. But I'd say that, as I said, I'm going to stick with my prediction that Anthony Cacace does knock out Josh Warrington, and I'm going to say it's probably going to be within 8 rounds. I reckon he's going to knock him out. But to be fair, Warrington could potentially put on the performance of his life. He could make it hard and gritty for Cacace by coming forward, trying to stick his head on his chest, try and maybe catch him with like an accidental headbutt. You know what I mean? Maybe some low blow shots, stepping on his foot. Just make it really awkward for Cacace to try and beat him or put him off his game, sort of thing. But for me, this is Josh Warrington's last opportunity for a world title. I feel as if he loses this fight, I think this will probably be it for him. There probably would be a few other fights out there in terms of maybe a Leo Wood rematch, which they were talking about before this fight. Or maybe he could probably entice Mauricio Lara back into the ring if that's a thing. I'm not sure if he's able to do that. Lara obviously has been fighting recently. He last fought against Daniel Lugo, who he drew to in February this year. Was a 10-round majority decision. And obviously Mauricio Lara lost against Leo Wood May 2023. So he has been active, Lara. So for me, if Warrington does lose, there could be a couple of names still there for him. But in terms of a world title opportunity, I feel as if this is it. This is it. If you lose this fight, I can't see how he comes back for another world title unless he goes on a 3 or 5 fight winning spree. That's the only way he's going to get another world title. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you see this one going? Who do you consider the favourite in this fight? Anthony Cacace or Josh Warrington? And how do you see it going? Do you see it being a points victory, stoppage, or a knockout? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe and comment. Bless.